Hi, we're BioQuizzical. Welcome to the inaugural podcast with myself, Ed, and Stephen, guest starring Maddie. Woo! So for our first podcast, what we're going to be talking about is biotech in movies or in cinema. So how realistic is it, and what sort of things have we seen, and what sort of things are more science fiction and what things are realistic. So I brought a few different topics, so I think to kick us off, probably one of the most talked about ones in recent times is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Matt, you haven't seen Jurassic Park, have you? How have you not managed to get through life to 2017 and not seen Jurassic Park?
That 21, 22-year-old film now?
And there are releasing new ones, and you've missed them all.
Yeah, Jurassic.
It's the one with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the general premise?
No, I know there's dinosaurs.
Right. So the general premise is that they've brought dinosaurs back to life based on DNA that has been isolated from mosquitoes caught in amber. So they extracted the DNA from a mosquito that bit a dinosaur,
Okay.
which has been perfectly preserved, and then they've mixed that DNA with that of a frog.
And a bunch of other stuff that are nondescript.
Yeah, and then basically to complete the genome, and then they've grown dinosaurs from that, and then everything goes haywire and
Because
people get
they're
eaten.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, but also they make dinosaurs to be like more ferocious because people like to see that. So it's and that's why they've not got feathers in the new one, because people like the ones that look like lizards.
And everyone in a zoo.
Effectively, yeah.
Well, they were put on an island, so it's like an isolated island in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah.
But so the realisticness of that, well, the actual biology of it is not actually that far out, is it?
It's not far out if you could get a complete genome of a dinosaur, which is
If you had a perfect
which we don't get because we only get fossilized remains. We don't get tissues.
And the DNA must degrade over time.
Oh yeah, and you're looking, the very very latest. You're looking at 65 million years. But a lot of these dinosaurs that we think of are the ones that existed like 250 million years ago.
Wasn't there something crazy statistic about the fact that Tyrannosaurus Rex lived closer to Cleopatra than it did to the Triceratops?
Yeah, something like that. It didn't cross over. Yeah.
So the distance in time between Tyrannosaurus Rex and Cleopatra in Egypt is
It's shorter.
yeah, it's shorter that distance than it would have been between Tyrannosaurus Rex and Triceratops.
Because you think they died out about 65 million, or died out, air quotes, 65 million years ago, but they go back like 250 million years, like they were roaming for so long. But that's off topic.
But you said it was preserved in amber.
Yeah.
Which is
So
fossilized
fossilized tree sap. So the idea was that basically a mosquito went and bit a dinosaur, then went and
So
sat
that's
on the
different
tree.
from a normal fossil.
It is.
So that might.
Yeah, because it's basically it's fossilized. The fossilized amber has caught the mosquito with the blood in it, and it's preserved the DNA sample.
So
But of course,
that's like highly unlikely to get that.
yeah, because DNA still degrades even fossilized tree sap.
Fossil, barely viable, let alone amberized mosquitoes. But I mean, the realisticness, sort of realisticness, I'm using that word twice, it's now a word. Is that they're trying to bring back a woolly mammoth. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, they've actually got blood from wool because they found a fully preserved
Yeah,
woolly mammoth in
in the
permafrost. Yeah.
Wasn't there a baby one? I think I've seen
I
it.
don't know, but it still had food in its mouth.
That's
Seriously?
Yeah, it was so well
What,
preserved.
like the ice just fell on it and it was like.
No, it just froze so quickly, isn't it? Something like
It
that.
must be. I mean, I went to an exhibition on mammoths down at the Natural History Museum. I went to it probably 5 years ago or something stupid now. But they had a perfectly preserved baby mammoth.
Oh,
I mean, baby mammoth was literally like the size of this table.
Yeah.
Huge. But it still had fur and stuff.
Yeah, that's probably the same example
Yeah.
because this one had fur, it had food in its stomach and food in its mouth, and it had frozen blood in its veins. So they really believe that because they can get if they can get such a good sample from it, that they can mix it with elephant eggs and actually birth a mammoth clone.
You must have to have a massive amount of blood in order to get a large enough. Because if you think about what ice does to tissue,
Yeah.
Like if you freeze steak for too long, it effectively turns to mush where the cells just
They just burst, don't they?
Yeah.
See that if you the slower you cool it, the bigger the ice crystals.
Yeah.
So and that thing obviously must have froze pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it didn't just.
Well,
turn
that's
mush.
why they when they're on about freezing people, like when they talk about cryogenesis things, and where like people just have their heads removed,
Just their
head frozen, they have to put it in liquid nitrogen. Have you not heard about that either?
Yeah, it was in a book I read. They froze someone and then they transported it and then they brought it back to life.
Yeah.
Or something.
Also, it's Castle episode. Like Castle.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
I've never watched Castle. But that's why. So they have to dunk it in liquid nitrogen because it's so cold that the crystals,
So you
the
have
ice
to freeze
crystals,
it really quick.
yeah, the ice crystals that form are tiny. That's what makes it.
Don't burst the
It's
cells.
also the difference between really good ice cream and really bad ice cream. Have you ever refrozen
Yes,
melted
I
ice cream?
have refrozen melted ice cream. It's awful.
Bad times, soul crushing.
But the whole point is the way you sequence the way we sequence as well is that we just blast the DNA apart, we analyze it, and then we can put it back together digitally. And we can't do that for dinosaurs. We've got very, very little DNA there. I'm not sure how true they
I
are.
doubt it. Wasn't there a paper that came out a little while ago about they thought they found dinosaur DNA, like preserved DNA, but it was kind of debunked. I think it was some Chinese guys that had found this, like fossilized, and they tried to bring it back. But I mean, I think the other thing you've got is that with a mammoth, bringing back a mammoth, you've got something that is modern day. That is very similar to our
Well,
mammoth.
didn't that mammoth start about 5,000 years ago?
Well, again, so stupid statistics with Egyptians. The mammoths died out after the Great Pyramids of Giza were built.
And they were built
How
like,
crazy is that?
they were built like 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, there was like some small island of them just off the coast of Alaska. And
So
they were the last
was
ones.
actually great with everything in the end.
Especially sitting
Not as much as a dinosaur. I mean, you sort of,
and especially sitting in permafrost, they're not fossilised, basically, it's not fossilised remains. Because I think fossilised remains, the only DNA you're going to get is from bone marrow, maybe?
well, it's essentially a fossil. The actual the technicality of fossilization is you converted organic matter into rock.
Into like mineral, basically.
Yeah, so you're never going to get like biological compounds.
And they did say the whole thing about finding like a mosquito from that time in tree sap is so unbelievably rare.
It's a cool idea, though. I mean, the other thing is, because of course, the way the movie moves forward is that everything goes mad because the only dinosaurs that they bring to adulthood are females, essentially.
Yeah.
So that they can't breed, so they can control the population. That's the whole idea. So you don't end up with this rampant ecosystem of dinosaurs. But the famous line is "Life will find a way."
Yeah.
From Jeff Goldblum. But basically, because they've mixed it with frog DNA, and frogs being this sort of weird, they have the ability to change.
They're quite parasitic in that
Yeah.
sense.
So that basically, because it's like it's common amongst fish, isn't it? Fish are like notoriously like clownfish.
Yeah.
If you take out if you take out that male, one of the females will become the male. And that's essentially what the idea of the film was, is that one of the dinosaurs had gone from being female to male, so they could breed and create viable offspring. So.
And there's also there's hints that basically, because they mixed it with things like for the velociraptors. You know, velociraptors are supposed to be tiny.
Yeah, they look
And they're huge in the film. They basically mixed like dog DNA and all this weird DNA. There's slight hints that they also mixed it with human DNA, but they never actually said it. Because the original premise for Jurassic World was that they're really smart because they've got human DNA in them.
Yeah.
That they never used that in the end because they were going to weaponize them as like half human, half dinosaur.
Yeah, so that's the original film was all about that. So the new one, the Jurassic World, is basically because the old films were all basically about the fact that they tried to start this park, and then it all gone to tits. Then the second one was they tried to restart the park, where they had like a contingency park, and then they were going to bring it to LA. And then the dinosaur ends up running around LA. The third one was
King Kong.
Yeah, I was about to say.
and the third one was was the...
Someone goes missing on the island.
That was it. They found somebody went back to the island and goes missing. And
it's a nostalgia trip for the first.
Yeah. And then the most recent one is that. So is it 20 years?
20 years later.
20 years have passed, and they actually succeeded. Like the whole point is that the park is open, it's an attraction, and everything's there.
FYI, spoiler alert, if they don't succeed for long.
I feel there's quite a lot of spoilers, not gonna lie.
I was going to say, it's been out for a while. Like, we're okay for spoilers.
Normal convention gives you 2 weeks, it's been. So yeah, I mean it's unrealistic, but it's based on actual science. I think in the new one they snuck in the word CRISPR-Cas9.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. Was that so the idea of the new one was that they built this brand new dinosaur, completely synthetic species that would never existed before, but they'd taken like a velociraptor's intelligence. Yeah, so they've taken a velociraptor's intelligence, but a T-Rex's like ferocity, and then they've taken like a Spinosaurus who turned up in the third, they'd taken his like this, that, and the other. And basically, they made this ridiculous dinosaur that was like.
But they crossed it with like chameleon DNA, so it's got like camouflage.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And is it BD Wong who plays the I can't remember. But basically, he's the guy in all of them, and even in the first film, he was the same actor making the dinosaur, and he's gone a bit crazy. So he's like making super weird dinosaurs and having all these things. But as crazy and amazing as that is in real world prospects, to get all those genes to work together without creating something that will just be a pile of mush on the floor.
Well, you were talking about the same. I mean, as much as a great, I say great movie, it was an alright movie.
It's fine. It's a movie.
But like, you're talking about the same genetics that it would take to put a hippo together with a horse, together with a cow, together with a sheep, to create some sort of huge semi-aquatic lamb thing. Like that's the same premise. It's never going to work.
I've got an image of that. Giant hippo with wool, like
just
but it's got woolies as well.
Some sort of Ice Age woolly hippo.
Yeah.
Really, a few milk comes out of it. Like,
it's just
super.
Well, don't just
and just sweats red as well.
I was going to say hippos sweat like red, don't they?
Yeah, like blood. They got blood in their sweat.
Yeah,
something like that. So they sweat red.
Hippos are weird.
Yeah,
it's so great.
Terrifying as well. They got 180-degree mouth open. It's off topic.
Have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen them?
I've not seen one.
No. I've seen a couple because they've got one. They've got one in a zoo in Bedford, Whipsnade. They've got one at Whipsnade, and they've got some. I think I went to a different one. I think they've got one in Dublin as well, and they're huge.
The only animal Steve Irwin was ever afraid of is hippos.
Who was ever afraid?
Steve Irwin.
Oh, really?
All the things he'd mess around with, hippos were the one thing he was like, you don't mess with hippos.
They're huge. Like honestly, this one I saw in, I think it was Whipsnade, was just like swimming around in a massive circle, and it was creating a whirlpool, and it was easily like its back, its head, and everything. It was the size of this table. Genuinely, it was huge.
And they say if you go into a hippo territory, you go to war and they surround you, you're done for because they're so fast you can't get away from that. If you're done, they will kill you.
And there's
Steve Irwin got in war with them because he was afraid of trying to like fight his fear, and they started to surround him, and they just got him out there instantly. They were like, "Nah,
wasn't there something silly like whenever you go? So I think it was like Sandy Toxvig or something was talking about. She went on a trip down the Nile. And she was on these little canoes, and they were going through crocodile and hippo country, and the guy brought a dog with it.
Yeah.
But she thought it was like, oh, it's his pet, you got to take his dog everywhere. No, the essence of this dog was that if the crocodiles or the hippos attacked, they pushed the dog in, and then he went away. That was the whole idea of it. Like, there was basically, it was a sacrificial animal, so that they didn't get fucked up.
A literal meat shield.
It's crazy. So you brought up CRISPR-Cas9.
They snuck that in, I noticed when I watched it.
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of a misconception generally about what CRISPR-Cas9 is capable of, what we're capable of.
You couldn't
build
an animal with CRISPR-Cas9, but you could edit a current animal with it, one gene at a time.
You can build an animal.
Yeah.
I do not doubt that one day we will be able to relatively build something from the ground up, but it is such a complicated.
And it's very simple animal.
This was part of what worked.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of the research I was doing yesterday for the biotech thing. So Craig Ventnor, the guy who did shotgun sequencing,
Yes, yeah.
invented it. He's created what he calls synthetic organisms. This is going back to 2000.
Are these single-celled organisms?
Yeah, so these are like bacteria, and he's created it's essentially hijacked, stripped out all the material that you get in a bacteria and introduced an artificial genome.
It's like when you buy a car, you rip out the engine, you put a new one in.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So imagine stripping all the framework straight back to the absolute minimum.
You just got a shell.
Yeah, and then sticking a new
When
engine.
they grow, I was thinking, I think it was on about growing synthetic meat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you can build part of the animal. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got 3D, they want to 3D print organs
They
and stuff
were
like that.
they were growing like chicken meat.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite a nice segue into a different movie. So, Fifth Element, which is a classic sci-fi
That is,
movie.
yeah.
Bruce Willis. Right, okay, we're
Really
going
bitch.
Yeah, it's a brilliant movie. Do you want to explain the premise of Fifth Element?
The premise is that a long time ago, aliens came to Earth, or so they came somewhere.
Yeah, they came to Earth.
So that, you know how there's like 4 elements: earth, wind, fire, water, heart. Like Captain Planet. But basically there's a 5th element, and spoiler alert for this film, it's also like 20 years old. Mila Jovovich is the 5th element. And she wakes up, and isn't it like a sign of some sort of impending apocalypse?
So basically they get given this strand of DNA, and it's triple helix, if I remember.
That's right, yeah.
She's supposed to be the perfect human, so it's like supposed to be the perfect genome. And what they do is they plug it into a computer, and within about so they plug this DNA code into a computer, and they've got this tank, haven't they? But effectively, within about half an hour, they've got a fully synthesized human from this DNA that they've got.
Is that easy?
Yeah, because exactly, it's that.
It's set way in the future, by the way.
Yeah, it's
Is that
yeah.
Blade Runner-esque sort of?
Yeah, flying cars, like
Everything's so neon it hurts.
Yeah, great movie.
The thing about
Gary
it-
Oldman.
Yeah,
I always
Gary
forget he's in
Oldman.
it. It's wicked.
And he does a super weird character.
Yeah.
And is it not Chris Rock? Is it the other one?
With potentially, he's got
really
like
high-pitched voice.
voice, isn't it?
Oh man, so good though.
It's
You should
good.
watch that film sometime.
But so the idea is that they build a fully synthetic human from a DNA sequence. So which is kind of the point we're at now is that have they grown kidneys and they've grown a beating heart.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, if you had the DNA and you put it into like a female egg,
Yeah.
and you took obviously the DNA out of the female and you put that in, maybe you could grow one in real time. Maybe, I mean, it's cloning effectively, but
Yeah.
you're doing it with a triple helix DNA.
Yeah. But then it's the same thing as this synthetic meat thing. So there's like the synthetic burger. Did you ever hear the reports of people that ate it?
No.
And they just like it's really bizarre because it didn't have any of like the animal
So like
fats
the
and stuff.
texture's really weird.
Yeah, it didn't have any of the animal fats or any of like the sort of the taste that you get from
It's just pure
normal
protein.
because it's essentially just the amino acid chains that make the peptides, and then they've just kind of
They
broken
flavor
up.
it as well.
So they basically there's just pept because it was originally white
Oh really?
because it had none of like the
Because you took it, oh, white, weird, isn't it?
because it had no myoglobin or hemoglobin actually in the meat, which is what makes the meat red, kind of.
yeah.
So they had to colour it, and but it was just like they tasted it. It was like genuine synthetic.
Oh, okay.
But it makes quite an interesting one because like obviously if you're a vegan then if you're
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Yes, as long as there no animals were involved in the production of it, and I mean at all, they didn't use any kind of like proteins from animals like they use say.
You'd have to use fully synthetic amino acids though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or unless you use dairy protein and break that down to amino acids.
Vegans won't use it then.
Oh, vegans don't eat dairy.
No.
I'm so rubbish at that.
They really don't use it. And so, yeah, I would imagine that it'd be okay for vegans, but there will still be some. The thing about veganism
It's
is
still be people who wouldn't want to eat.
there's hardline ones that won't eat it because it simply looks and tastes like meat.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on why you're a vegan. If you're
Yeah.
if you're a vegan purely for ethical reasons, Or vegetarian for that matter. Because it wouldn't the
I think a lot of vegetarians say, I lived with a vegetarian last year, and they said that if they grew synthetic meat, she'd be fine eating it. She just doesn't like the idea of killing an animal.
I was listening to a podcast like that, and I can't remember who it was. It wasn't a long-term bosun. So basically, it was a comedian in the US, and he said exactly the same.
Yeah.
Jim Norton it was, and he was saying that he'd love it if they grew synthetic meat because he'd be happy to eat that.
I mean, I convert to it.
I eat it.
That was fine. As long as it tastes like raw meat, yeah.
I think there's a genuine
If it
issue
tastes
with
the
like.
same.
There's a genuine issue with meat production in the future, isn't there? Because the amount of methane and water it takes.
And also, a lot of crops go towards just feeding animals and not us. So, which I do have a following topic eventually. It's not going to be this one.
But I went on the same trip to the Natural History Museum as the mammoth thing was we had this like tasting, this insect tasting.
Oh yeah.
Because they were saying that like insects are like so much more protein in like a
and a lot
pound for pound as it were. So there's no horrible fats, very little sugar in it,
and you can tend to farm them because they just do not have the capacity to know what's going on.
They were talking about the volume of like edible material per gallon of water you get. They were talking about like cows versus insects, and it was basically like it was some stupid number, like virtually like a swimming pool versus like a bucket. Insects.
Because insects eat so little.
The same amount of food.
What people don't like the idea of is eating insects, but I saw a study as well.
It's not different to eating prawns.
I saw a study where they kind of made them look like, like veggie burgers. They just made them look like that. Yeah. And people ate them, they were like, this is actually alright.
Oh, I had locusts. We had some minging ones in fairness. We had some, we had silkworm keeper at the Natural History Museum.
Oh.
So we had this like whole tasting thing. So we had a proper meal, and then they brought out all this stuff. The best one were Mexican flavored locusts.
Okay.
Because they had like the Mexican flavour, but they also had like a tinge of lime in it as well.
Yeah.
Really tasty. Like you can eat them like I don't know, mini cheddars or something. Just like that.
I'm actually fine with eating them as long as they don't look like bugs.
These look like
program where people went and lived in like really random
like Indonesia and places
wild
like that.
places, and they ran around with these tiny little sieve nets, and they caught all these flying ants because they came out in like a massive colony, and they caught them all, and then they mushed them up into like a patty, and then like put them on the fire and cooked them, and they were like, oh, this tastes so good, but then just run around.
I think as long as they were a paste or like burgerized or something, I did alright.
I suppose it's the same as if somebody turned up with a pig head. Or like a pig with like the whole body, and you just have to decide, so people would feel far more uncomfortable with that.
Than if it stops looking like an animal.
Or like, people don't eat pig trotters anymore for the exact reason that it looks like a pig foot because it is a pig foot.
Exactly. But to grow as a human in very, very quickly.
Oh, I see. It's set it's set something like 1,000 years ahead or something. It's set way in the future. So it's an emerging technology because they want to be able to grow human tissue from somatic cells and body cells.
And they want to do it quickly.
So that you can do organ transplants. For those who've got kidney dysfunctions or issues. But I suppose if you've got a genetic precondition which causes your kidneys to break down early, if you just grew a kidney from your own DNA, would that not just still have that?
Well, I assume what they'll do is they'll take the DNA, use CRISPR to fix the gene, and then grow you a kidney that won't fail.
That's so weird though. Like the idea
and it's you, but it's not you.
Yeah.
The great thing about that is that sounds ridiculous, but that is expensive, but almost absolutely doable with what we know today.
Because the human genome editing at the moment is in its infancy, but primarily
because of ethics. We have to be careful where we go with that.
Yeah, so if it's ethically viable that you could have your own genome edited to have the disease removed, and then the kidney or whatever organ it is that's failing to be reimplanted. Does that come under the eugenics thing? Because the big argument is like, with CRISPR-Cas we can knock out all these genetic diseases and stuff, so people don't suffer. But then there's a cry of eugenics that always comes.
See, eugenics is a very unfortunate word because when you hear eugenics, you think the crazy super soldier theories that are coming out of Russia and stuff like that. But really what we want to do is augment humans. So like you said, if someone's got a failing kidney, we take out that and we fix that gene, and then we put their own kidney back in, because they don't have to live, because say it's a liver instead, or a heart or something like that, an essential organ or muscle. Essentially, you don't have to live on immunosuppressants. You don't have to worry about it getting rejected, because it's your own. It's you basically, just another copy. And someone doesn't have to die to give you that, because if you need a heart, well, someone's going to have to die to give you a heart. So you've got to wait for that's why heart transplants are so long. You're just waiting for bodies to drop.
You can do partial living liver transplants, can't you?
You can,
so you can donate like a lobe.
Because the liver's got amazing regenerative powers.
Yeah. So you get normal liver function up and down. That's why liver failure is
like a third of a liver. Or something.
Less than that. So I think the one that always springs to mind, but I'm not sure whether when you hear these things, it gets like altered over time. 5%. You can have like 5% only of your liver left. I mean, as long as you don't binge drink. As long as you're not being stressing it to its max, you can have what would register as a normal liver function and only have 5% of it left.
On the news there was that girl who she did die, so it was like organisation. She's the person who's donated the most organs, because they donate like parts of her liver to different people.
So that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she donated like to 8 people or something, because they could like separate it all out.
That's another film, wasn't it? It was £7 by Will Smith.
I've not seen that one.
So the idea of that one was, I think it's like £7 of flesh. So I haven't actually seen it, and it's been so long since it's come out. But the idea was that he was quite a nasty guy in life. So he was like a tax collector or something, and he was going around like raiding people's bank accounts and stuff, and there would be like a woman who was blind. And basically she would, and he would go and take her money and stuff, and she really needed it. Or but basically essentially what happens is eventually at the end of the film is, spoiler alert, again, really old film, he dies, but then he gives away all his organs. So he gives his eyes to this woman that's blind, he gives his liver to this guy that's chronic, so then essentially what he does is he gives all his organs out. But then the automatic cry is, how brilliant is that he's a perfect tissue match for all of these people. Just like, all these people that he'd just been, he'd been addicted.
Well, the organ donation is really tricky. Weirdly enough, it was Scrubs that did a really dramatic, 2-3 episodes. It was actually like the most upsetting episodes of that. And you've got to make sure the organ donor doesn't have any diseases as well. Because in that episode, I don't know how realistic this is, but I can imagine it happening. Is the organ donor didn't realise it had rabies, and because it's so rare, they didn't test for it. All the other organ. So they gave away 3 organs, I think, for transplant, and they all got rabies and died. In that episode, that's like one of the
How do you not know you have rabies?
Because you don't always get those symptoms straight away. But obviously this person's gone to hospital for something. It's explained in the episode. So there's big issues with organs. So I think if you could grow your own organ out of your own DNA, it's personalised medicine, isn't it?
The argument, because it's part of the reason why the UK doesn't pay for blood donations or sperm donations, is because they had an issue with it. They've got an issue with it in America where they pay for these things. Because they don't pay a lot, you kind of draw in a lot of people who are potentially at the more needing end of the spectrum. So you've got loads of students doing it who drink heavily, or you've got people who are homeless doing it because they need the money, or people who are potentially substance addicts because they need the money to fuel the jet. So you end up with people who are highly sexually promiscuous, highly at risk of diseases effectively from needle transfer or whatever.
And you can't donate if you drank recently. But obviously people lie, and then they'll test it, and then a lot of the stuff just gets thrown away. It's a complete waste of resources.
But they so that's what we had in this module last year, was they were talking about exactly that. That's why we don't get paid for it, because you don't therefore. But then we basically have virtually no blood donors. We comparison to the volume of people that
because it's not. I mean, that needle does not attract people whatsoever.
Yeah, see, it's really funny because I've signed up to do blood donation, but as part of the blood donation sign-up thing, they ask you to be an organ donor as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is like. In theory, in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to need them. Like, I mean, they might, when I actually go to click the button, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable.
I think I am.
Have you heard that they want to bring in the thing where you're an organ donor, you will donate organs automatically?
Yeah, like
opt out.
Oh, the opt-outs. Was it Wales or Scotland? One of them's got it.
And I think they're bringing it throughout the whole UK.
Yeah.
They want to anyway.
But as soon as you alter your license, your driver's license, it's exactly the same thing. It puts you automatically into the organ donor list. I don't know. I just.
I remember it asking me when I went for my provisional license.
It's a nice thought that some of you will live on and help people, but at the same time, the idea is sort of coming over.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
It's like, it's me, it's mine.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I'm not sure how I feel about it really, but there was because Emily's really into Grey's Anatomy at the moment.
Oh yeah.
She's decided to start rewatching it. I mean, she's rewatched it from the start, and there was an episode where this guy is in hospital with a really bad heart condition. He's on the transplant list, and he's waiting for a heart. He's having to be in hospital because he's not stable enough to go home, and his daughter's there looking after him, and then she leaves or something to go to work. She ends up in a car accident. They bring her back to the hospital, and she dies on the table. She's a perfect tissue match for him. And he's like, in this, like most of the episode, it's like this turmoil of, do you take your daughter's heart or not?
Yeah.
You know, it's a perfect tissue match you can live on, but there's a kind of weird thing where you can have your daughter's heart beat in your chest. Like, it's slightly uncomfortable. But,
and then just before we go off the topic of this, I do want to mention Westworld, where they effectively print synthetic
That's the one where they've got like pretend humans.
is that Anthony Hopkins in it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
So you know how originally this would be like robots that look like humans?
Yeah.
And there are, in this it's quite good actually, that the old versions of those, it's kind of like Battlestar Galactica in a way as well,
yeah.
but the new ones, they have like blood and organs and stuff, because it's a more realistic thing when you shoot them, they bleed and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's the whole point. There's like a whole world that you can go and be like, it's like a cowboy world.
Yeah, but one of them is anyway.
Yeah.
And, but the thing is as well, you can, like, they are programmable like machines, but they are synthetic biological organisms almost, which obviously raises ethics issues. But at the same time,
do they actually exist? Is this a place? So in the TV program, is this a place you can actually go to?
Yes, it's a physical place. They built this area and they fill it full of these synthetic humans.
They've programmed them all to have characters. So one of them's a barmaid and she has to be all like sassy.
So this isn't like a virtual reality thing where
no, it's absolutely physical and you can do it.
Because you get like computer bots in games now.
Yes,
so I can imagine.
But
this
I mean,
is like a physical.
The reason why they, I mean, obviously there is ethical implications there, but is if you shoot and kill them, which happens like on a daily basis, they get taken away, they get fixed, and then they get put back because they can regenerate
as the same character.
As the same character, they just
and then know who shot them.
No, don't forget. It's like a game when you start a quest again and you sort of reset your progress.
That's weird.
It's a really good show, but the whole point of it, like, they made, and like the way they
starts going wrong at one point.
You see it in
without giving too much away.
Yeah. I'm a person who enters this.
Yeah.
Do I know who are the synthetic people and who are the real people?
You can tell because the synthetic people have to do what you tell them to, but you won't just by looking at them.
No, they look real.
And because you're going to go in costume, you get a costume for you go because it's rich people go in.
Oh, right.
You haven't seen in the series yet. You haven't seen what Earth looks like, so you don't know how messed up it is.
Oh, right.
You've only seen in the synthetic world Anthony Hopkins, and there's theories that Anthony Hopkins may be the only real person there. There's theories that there actually are no real people, and that some people just know they're synthetic, and some people don't know they're synthetic.
Bizarre.
And that's the thing. That's when technology and biotechnology get to the point where it's almost indistinguishable to humans.
But that point you've got to ask what's human. I mean, that's a very esoteric question, isn't it?
And there is that philosophical sort of side of the series as well, which is like, well, these people act and feel human emotions. And the whole point of the series, I don't want to give away the ending, the whole point of the series is one of them kind of realises that something's wrong,
Yeah.
and you think that this is like an evolution of AI, and then towards the end you're just like, wait, is it?
So
It's a bit of a brain teaser.
So if this is a rich kid's playground, which is essentially
It's
what you're
effectively
saying.
what it is.
Right. Okay. So say somebody decided to go on a rampage because there's no real consequence.
Absolutely fine to do that.
But if there are people who are non-synthetics in there and you shoot one, are you a murderer?
Okay, it's very sci-fi in the sense that there's safeties. So because you get given your gun, so I point a gun at a human, it won't hurt them.
Oh, so it's not like recognition thing.
Like that phone shoots them and they're dead.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
a way of
think.
recognising a synthetic from a non-synthetic.
I think-
there are command people which we like click. Oh, you're.
No, I think it's something to do with the guns. That when you if you shoot a human with a gun, it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't go through your skin or something like that. But the synthetic ones, it does.
It hardly ever comes up though. Like it's very.
It's mostly because I think near the start, it's like they say something like the safety settings have been turned off for someone, or someone's. But then you're not sure if it really is, or who's synthetic, who's not.
But the idea of like an unpenetrable skin thing, there was a thing I read the other day while we were doing this Twitter stuff.
Yes.
They engineered skin to be impenetrable to bullets.
Really?
So they've sort of mixed the idea like human skin with spider silk stuff, and it's basically created this like Kevlar skin.
And does that keep the elasticity of skin as well?
Yeah, so it's like skin,
It functions
but
as skin.
I guess what it would have to be like you'd be an engineered human from the start to have it.
Yeah, you have to put it
It's not like I could wear it, but like
some Leatherface type stuff there.
And the other thing is like if you've got the idea of like the way Kevlar works is that a bullet hits you and it displaces the impact. Now if this is just sheerly impenetrable,
Because Kevlar.
that's just going to cause massive internal hemorrhaging.
Because that's the thing about Kevlar. The thing about Kevlar.
It's just as lethal.
Isn't it a non-Newtonian fluid Kevlar basically as well? It's based on that, isn't it? Where you can pour it and you can shape it, but if you hit it, it turns solid. I think I read about that as well.
Possibly. I know that was one of the ways they were looking at doing it, wasn't they?
Yeah.
Especially what you do with corn flour. And
Yeah, cornstarch and water, and then you can put.
I used to play with that as a kid.
Do you ever watch Brainiac, the series that was on Sky One? They had the guy that they filled a swimming pool full of custard, and he ran across the top of it because he had to like stand
They
on
did
it.
it on Mythbusters as well.
Did they?
Yeah, where I think they filled it with like tapioca or something like that. And basically he stood in it and he started to sink, but if he like just jumped up and down like that, he was fine.
This was really interesting because it basically the same thing. So if you stood still, you sank, but because it's non-Newtonian. It basically, as soon as you try to pull his leg out with any force, it locks.
Yeah. That's what happened with that.
That's like properly scary. That's like the worst kind of quicksand ever.
That was Adam Savage. Basically, he got to like waist deep and they're like, "We better get you out," and they started pulling him out, and he was just stuck. It took ages to get him out.
Worst nightmare.
So you've got Gattaca on it, but I've not seen that.
So you've not seen Gattaca?
I've not seen Gattaca.
You won't have seen Gattaca. If you haven't seen Jurassic Park, you won't have seen Gattaca. So the whole idea of Gattaca was that your DNA sequence determines your level in society.
Right. Okay.
So it's like genetic predetermination.
That's kind of like what they did in the new Superman as
Based
well.
on what though?
I haven't seen which one is Superman?
The Man of Steel. So Man of Steel, they basically they say, "Oh, we need more farmers." I don't know if they farm or not, but if they say, "Oh, we need more farmers," okay, well we've got these DNA templates. Because they don't reproduce like sexually, we'll just make some people who will grow up to be farmers, and that's all you do. That's what you're told to do.
Yeah, similar idea. So these guys, so you could only get to certain levels of society, and you could only do certain jobs if you were. So if your genetics were right.
Yeah.
So it's easy like saying, reading the genetic code and saying, well, you're no good at maths, so therefore you can't be an accountant or whatever. So that was the idea of it. But then this guy was trying to get around it. That's not the premise.
Oh, okay.
Great film. I'm going to spoil it for you because it's really good.
It's been on a list.
I think if it's all right, is it Ethan Hawke? I think isn't it?
Is it?
I think so.
It's good.
So really good film. But then they were sort of saying. So my question would be, how realistic is it to be able to tell what somebody is capable of or not capable of purely based on their genetics?
See, you can tell if someone's going to be resistant disease or susceptible to disease, the way they work out like women who are really, really susceptible to breast cancer is a specific gene and stuff like that. And but yeah, I mean, you know, to look at someone's genes and go, oh, they're going to be really good at art. I mean, you could probably say, oh, they're going to be really good at art because the way their nerves are, they're going to be steady-handed and stuff like this. But you also have to take into
account. I just not want to do it.
Well, that's the point of the film, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the point. About, he was good at, or was it you? He was a tram driver. He didn't want to do.
Oh, you're the comedian guy.
Yeah. So a podcast I listen to, which is way better than this one, is The Weekly Planet, and Nick Mason on there. He's friends with all these comedians in Melbourne, and they all say he's a great comedian. He could do stand-up comedy, but he's just so chill.
He has a gene that says that you're good at comedy.
He's clearly got. He's just quick-witted. He's like that, yeah, but he's just like, he's fine being a tram driver, he likes his life, he does a podcast as well, which is kind of comedy anyway, and he goes on other podcasts, and he just enjoys it. But they said, like, why do you want to do it? He's like, just...
It's kind of similar to, so again, I listen to a podcast as well, but they had a guy on there called Cameron Haynes. Now, he is, this is ridiculous, he's got a ridiculously long CV list that he's currently on. So he's a sponsored athlete in terms of the fact that he's a bow hunter. So he does archery professionally and actually hunts elk and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's primarily what and he's sponsored by Under Armour for that. He is a ultra endurance athlete. So he's currently training for something called the Moab 200, which is a 238-mile running race, which you do, I think, non-stop throughout the Utah desert. So for that, he runs a marathon a day. Yeah. He has a family. Yeah. Like that he's got kids, he's got a wife, but he also works a full-time job.
See, I struggle raising a dragon tree. couldn't live that lifestyle. And obviously, somewhere in his genes says that he has a great metabolism. And
but his brother is also, this is the interesting thing, his brother is also an ultra-endurance athlete. He runs 100-mile races.
It's genetic there.
And his father was a potential Olympic high jumper.
Right.
So there's I can't remember what the move is, but about 30, 40 years ago, the guy, you know how they high jump and they sort of roll over onto their back? It's called something rather flop. Yeah.
Didn't someone basically invent that?
Yeah, so what they used to do is they used to try and dive over it or something. And this guy basically
dolphin over it.
Now he was in the same class in terms of like years that he was with this guy, and the father, this guy Cameron Haynes, was a high jumper who they thought that if he adopted this back flop, he would have taken it to like 7 feet.
Right.
He would have to jump ridiculously high. So you've got this idea that the father was potential Olympic material. Both the sons are ultra endurance athletes. But he still just works a job. I think he works in like a utility company.
Because obviously the ethical thing comes up. It's just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you should be made to do it. You know.
I think there's a massive, again, like in the mainstream, in the general populace, major overstatement of what genes are capable of.
Yes.
Like the idea that there's a gene that is going to give you Alzheimer's. There's a gene that no, that's not misunderstanding. There are genes that make you potentially more susceptible, but then that's based on your diet, your lifestyle, like what you're doing.
Because they believe, like using Alzheimer's, they believe that if you keep your brain active, and they think like playing chess, playing these sort of brain games, stuff like that you can help stave off Alzheimer's or make sure it doesn't get as bad by keeping your brain so active. They reckon that inactivity of brain can cause things like or go towards things like Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that.
I watched this program where they took nursery school kids into an old people's home, and they were like seeing how it helped the kids and the old people. By the end of the week, the old people were like so much more active, they were happier, and they were like, memory was better, and they could do more, those games where you put the blocks together in the right order.
Oh yeah.
All those kind of games, they could do them all so much better just from interacting with people.
Yeah, and it's just keep your brain active, isn't it? Things like that.
So it's like not just
that's like therapeutic medicine kind of thing, isn't it?
That was a really interesting thing, because over the summer I did the NCS stuff, and one of the groups decided they were going to work in a daycare centre just on the outside of Oxford, and basically it's a 2-story building, and on the top story it is people with severe learning difficulties and mental issues, so Down syndrome, or they are, they've had brain damage issues from birth or whatever. But downstairs was an old person's home, sort of old person's daycare centre, which had general populace, old people who wanted to get out of the house and just meet other people, but also people with Alzheimer's and stuff. So it had both. But when we took these 16-year-olds in there, they just didn't know how to interact with people like that. It was crazy how uncomfortable they felt. And so where I've got a stepbrother who's got severe mental disabilities, and it took me a long time to sort of work out how to interact with him. But walking into a situation like that nowadays, I haven't got an issue with it. And the girl who was leading that group is she just finished her occupational therapy degree. So she works with people with mental disabilities or sort of old people all the time. So we were both completely fine. But these kids were carrying in the corner from these old people as if they were going to bite them. It was really strange that they just don't know how to just deal with it. But yeah, so I think again, the idea that these things are completely overstated. It's like when you ever get a copy of the Daily Mail, it's like, this gives you cancer.
Oh, Daily Mail, they really put fear. Everything.
It's like you can't eat bacon because it gives you cancer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of get the processed meat thing.
But getting punched in the face can give you cancer.
Yeah.
Technically.
It's like, this is dangerous. Living is just dangerous.
I remember having this argument with my friend's dad, who's an avid Daily Mail reader.
Yeah.
So he was talking to me about, this gives you cancer, that gives you cancer, and I said, nothing gives you cancer.
Anything can cause cancer.
Yeah. And if you actually look at what cancer is, it's a mutation in a gene which causes cells to proliferate uncontrolled. That's what cancer is by definition. Whatever it does as a result of it, whether it's malignant or whether it's benign, it's still cancer.
Well, I can 100% guarantee that inside all of us right now, we have a cancerous cell.
Yeah.
Because the body just goes and kills it. And the problem is you get that. I hate to use this term, so I use the perfect storm of a cell that will proliferate uncontrollably, but also cannot be killed, or its own self-killing regulation is gone for some reason. I think what people don't realise as well is that's why cancer is so hard to cure. It's not a disease that you can catch. It's not universal.
And it's one of the really most popular conspiracy theories is that the cure for cancer has already been invented. They don't tell you for commercial reasons.
This guy, I went to a canal museum place, and it was this old guy who does blacksmithing.
No.
He was telling us, he knew I did the biology degree. He was telling me how I could cure cancer by drinking a mixture of lemon water with mint and thyme.
Please do not say this.
He was I can cure cancer. The only reason they've got all these fancy ways of curing it is because they want the money.
It's like,
are you serious?
The NHS really wants all that money that we give them for cancer treatments, don't they?
It's just if you've got the cure for cancer, why on earth are you in a canal museum?
Why don't you own the canal museum if you like it that much?
Yeah, literally, you could own a company. You'd have more money than God if you had the cure for cancer. It's completely ridiculous. It's because there's a different type of cancer for every tissue in the body, and then for every tissue in the body, there are untold amounts of different ways it can go wrong.
And we're still discovering ways that they are going wrong.
Yeah, it just winds me up because it's just
I find it quite amusing.
Well, it's just that stupid. It doesn't take a lot. Yourself just enough to realise, that's bullshit.
Wait, because when you go through the research, cancer's really horrible, and then you'll do research for literally 5 minutes and go, it's also really complicated.
I don't understand any of this. Maybe I should stop talking.
And then you
no, lemon and turmeric.
That's it. That's all we've got to do.
I've got the solution.
But then there's and then you find out that scientists are just they're so sick of hearing about people dying of cancer that they name the genes responsible Sonic Hedgehog.
One thing putting up a dog, I do not want to tell someone that a Sega game is killing their child.
You have colon cancer because your Sonic Hedgehog gene is mutated. So well done, science. You've just managed to completely rip the soul out of somebody. But so I think we've not really got much longer left. But there's one other film that's a bit more modern. A film called Elysium. The one with Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah.
I bet you haven't seen it.
No.
So Earth is a bit of a a bit of a crap hole, isn't it? And everyone lives. Is it on a Halo style thing?
Yeah, there's a Halo ring like satellite space station that's basically off planet. You can see it from.
Yeah, it's a colony, so it spins, creates
gravity.
Yeah, centrifugal force.
They made their own little planet.
So basically, what happened is that all the rich people went fuck this, and they went off planet, and basically left the planet. They get all their resources from the planet, but all the poor people live on the planet, and it's an absolute dump. And then up on this ring system, they've got no disease, and it's like a utopia.
Right.
And what happens is the main character finds out he's got an incurable disease or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's got something.
Or does he sign up to something, basically it's going to kill him? And essentially what he's got to do is he's got to get himself from Earth to the ring to cure the...
And I think the ring's called Elysium, isn't it? That's
yeah. So that's where the title of the film comes from. But again, really good film actually. I
was surprisingly good.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of thought really, but the interesting thing they've got is that on this ring system, there's no disease, there's no illness, primarily because they've got this pod thing that they go and sit in. It reads your body, finds out what's wrong, and instantly cures it.
Yeah. Personal defense. Now there is also other things.
Yeah, like anything.
Yeah, like cancer. Straight eyebrow hair.
They're like just off of Earth, so but my instant reaction to that was, how bad is your immune system going to be?
Yeah,
like, things like antibacterial soap is bad for your immune system as a child. How bad's a pod that just instantly cures everything going to be?
Yeah, that is true. I never actually thought of that. But you're not fighting anything yourself. You're not creating antibodies. I suppose like someone can sneeze on you.
Back down to Earth, they just die.
Oh yeah, instantly. If they didn't have a pod, they were
especially because they're supposed to be up there for quite a while.
Yeah. And then I like so again, part of the module we did last semester was that was about infection and immunity stuff. So, and they were saying that a lot of or the idea that she put forward was that a lot of the reason why people are so allergic to stuff nowadays is purely because your cells in your blood are running rampant. So these eosinophils, they're called,
okay.
And they're primarily, I think they're parasites. They're supposed to work on parasites in like a natural system. Don't quote me on that. But and essentially what happens is these cells get bored because they've got nothing to deal with, because in Western civilizations, parasites aren't a major problem.
We don't worry about them at all, do we? Really?
So what it starts to do is they start to recognise things like peanuts and other things that you would, that basically they recognise that as foreign, and then you get this allergic reaction. This is where you get the anaphylactic reaction from. So the minute you get down to Earth, if you've been living on a ring system with no disease, you're just going to be allergic to everything.
Yeah, exactly. That almost raises that question, where like anyone on that ring may be allergic to peanuts or something. And over time, if that got worse and worse and worse, would it to the point that you would have to create your own food? Or would it be...
You'd be allergic to air.
Yeah, well, would you be allergic to food?
Yeah, it's completely unrealistic. But and then if you suddenly find that you get a load of money and you go, oh okay, well I'm going to move to the ring. Like you'd have to have everything sterilised. You would have to be sterilised before you entered that place, because you'd have to have so many pods. You have to live in a pod.
Because that was part of the point of the film, wasn't it? As well, as that humans on Earth, they just never get enough money to leave.
Yeah, that was essentially what it is, isn't it? I think it's quite a Marxist commentary, really, because it's basically like, it's a really obvious thing of where you have this massive pool of labour working for this tiny population.
Yes, yeah.
But so that's quite a good film. It's quite interesting. But we're going to have to wrap it up.
Yeah, because we've got a lecture now.
So
in clarity.
Yeah. So thanks guys, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. We'll be back with some more for Biology Week. So stay in touch.
There should be one a day, and follow our Twitter at BioQuizzical. Do you want to plug yours?
What I'm using.
Biotech Music.
Well done,
click the ads, it's the better Twitter. But a team of us do tweet every day, so if you are interested in biotechnology, you can sign up to follow our Twitter account as well. Interact with us, that's absolutely great. And obviously we will talk about a lot more on there of what's going on right now, more than just what we talk about on these podcasts. Thank you very much for listening. or watching, or wherever you're doing this. Also, smash that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. Smash an odd number of times this so you stay subscribed. And you'll get these sent to you. Makes it real easy. No, thanks.